I guess I got to ask, Mike, is this a tipping point for us in terms of the fan behavior in Utah and across the league?
It should be. Let's start in Utah because that's where the news is coming from now. That's the most urgent situation. And it's a tipping point in that the league has got to get the club and at the league's insistence, if necessary, have to get a handle on this. Look, this is one of the great appeals of the NBA is the intimacy, just the way fans and players interact. As you guys know, we're at courtside all the time. Talk to each other, interact with each other. Sometimes it's colorful, and then sometimes, as we see too often apparently in Utah, it has crossed the line. Blame is going to have to be assessed. And again, the league and the club are going to have to vigorously investigate this and address it. Russell Westbrook, has there been a problem anywhere else? That was my first thought this morning when we talked about this on SportsCenter. Where else has Russ been in confrontation directly with fans? And I couldn't come up with any. And so if this is a problem in Utah, deal with Utah first. But we saw this in New York with the owner of the team telling somebody, you got to get out because you said sell the team.
Right.
This is a bad look for this league given the relationship historically between fans and players at courtside.
We just saw the clip from Philadelphia where, there wasn't even a cause for that guy to do that. He just got up and gave Russ the double middle fingers.
You know, I think the Russes, the Mahmoud Abdul-Raufs, the Kenyon Martins, the Draymond Greens are kind of the low-hanging fruit, meaning people feel like because they're either speaking out for something or because they're outspoken that they're somebody that they should say something to. And there's nowhere in the league that you're closer to the players than in Utah. Utah is like playing in a college arena. And so, like, I talked to those guys today, but the main person that stood out to me was Michelle Roberts, the executive director of the Players Association, and she said that they need to collaborate with the league to have zero tolerance. They need to kick people out. So, I mean, what is a warning card going to do? What is it, soccer? You're going to give them a yellow card? You know,
second yellow card a year.
But I also think that the fans got to do it too. Like, what other fan has stepped up and said, you know what this guy said was inappropriate? He needs to be out. So I think the fans got to step up as well and help police because, you know, as Kenyon Martin said, he's like, somebody could say something, but then you turn around, there's so many people, you don't know who said it. So I think the fans got to help out as well.
I was listening to Stephen A's radio show today, and he brought up an interesting point. And I'm going to lean on you guys because you have way more experience going to a lot more different arenas than I do. It seems like every time we have one of these incidents, it's someone white. I can't remember an incident where we have a black fan doing these kind of cross-the-line type of interactions with the players. Am I just seeing this through a prism, or can you guys remember any player having any sort of issues like that?
Well, you got very few arenas where you have that many black patrons, first of all.
It's hard to hear them from upstairs.
You're still talking about Detroit, Washington, Atlanta, how many cities? I mean, you go to some cities.
Detroit had a big-time black heckler.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They did. So, and Washington had a big-time white heckler who was famous. Yeah. So I don't.
But heckling is different. I'm not talking about heckling. I'm talking about.
Well, but of course, you know how many people take things too far. Yeah. We also exist in a culture today in which people think they can say things. It's okay to say things that it's not okay to say, and it's okay to get away with it. And we see this not just in arenas. We see this throughout the landscape. All you got to do is click a channel, and we can go to one and find that sort of behavior, you know, sort of being imposed. But there is going to have to be a more cooperative effort. I mean, I don't think the NBA wants to see a disconnect between its fans, its patrons, and its top players, whether those guys are perceived as bad boys or not. Yeah. This used to actually be, did you see the clip there of Golden State? Chris Mullin was one of the people who was running. People were throwing down at courtside. I mean, we're not talking about that. Right. But this is still uncomfortable. Yes, if what was said that Westbrook alleges was said, I'd have a reaction. Now, it doesn't mean that reaction is justified by the rules, but I would have a reaction. People are human. Players are as well.
So, Mark, you know, I talked to a league exec earlier this morning, and he said, obviously the fans were out of line, and, you know, Utah needs to do a better job of policing there. But he brought up something interesting. Westbrook engages with fans routinely. He sits at the end of the bench, and he does bark sometimes and talk trash. Doesn't Oklahoma City security have a burden here to know, hey, we've got a guy who's an emotional player in an arena that we know is very hostile. They've got to be able to corral him and get him away from there.
You know, and I don't know if this is the case for Russ. James Harden has a guy. You know, like Kevin Durant has a guy. DeMarcus Cousins has a guy.
In addition to
LeBron has
security.
a guy.
Yeah.
They have their own guys. I don't know if I think Russ needs a guy that basically his job is to help police what's going on around him.
To be fair, there was another clip that was just shown, and this happened last week, where Russ had a very gentle reaction with a kid who came off the bench and talked to him and shook his hand, and I don't know if he gave him something. And again, the overwhelming number of interactions, and this is the one that happened in Denver, overwhelming number of interactions are pretty lighthearted. Some of the funnier things I've heard in sports have been said, between fans and players. But this situation, and again, I think it is fair to point out Utah because so many of these things have happened. Thabo Sefolosha's reaction to me in support of Russ, you can say, well, he's a former teammate. Well, it is former. Yeah. That was interesting because he said he sides with him 100%.
But you know what?
He's played, Thabo's had a lot of home arenas in his career, so he's gotten traded around a lot.
And look, I wrote a story about what it's like to be black playing for the Utah Jazz. And we could beat up on Utah. And I like to say to Utah, there's a lot of great people there, a lot of nice people, a lot of people that just go there to watch the game.